gamers. So, you just installed Dead by Daylight. For whatever reason, maybe your friends played, maybe you saw the news that our Lord and Savior, Nicolas Cage, is going to be added to the game. I wish I was kidding. Actually, no, I don't. Maybe you even saw my guide about how to get better at the game. Wink, wink. Probably not. But hey, I can dream. For whatever reason, you've decided you want to play Dead by Daylight. But you sit here, and you look through the huge list of characters, and you're like, who do I play? Where do I start? Don't worry, I've got you. Let me just start by saying that the most important thing of who you play first is the rule of cool. If you see a survivor and you're like, wow, Vittorio is super cool. I only want to play Vittorio. He resonates with me. He's supposed to be from the 1400s. I don't know why he looks like this, but you're like, oh, he's cool, right? Play Vittorio. Don't let me or any other YouTuber or streamer tell you otherwise, even if it's not the most optimal thing, all right? Play who you want to. But if you don't have a strong preference or you're looking to make things a bit easier for yourself, then I would say the best survivor for new players is, drumroll please, Fengmin. Unfortunately. Why do I say unfortunately? Well, two reasons. One, Fang mains are a bunch of degenerates. And two, if you're on PC at least, she is a character you have to pay to unlock, which really sucks. She's free on consoles. She's one of the oldest characters in the game. I feel like they should just make that DLC free for everybody. I feel like Doctor's great for new players as well, but if you don't want to pay for any characters when you're new to the game, I totally understand that. So I will be going over the best free-to-play option in a little bit as well. And I'll also, I know a lot of people are only here, or at least get into the game because of Resident Evil, especially the Resident Evil 4 remake just come out. So I'll also have a section about which of the Resident Evil characters is best as well, just in case you're only into that. So you may be thinking to yourself, I thought all survivors were just skins of one another. How can they be better? They all have the same base movement and abilities. And that is because of the teachable perks. There is a set of common perks that are available to all survivors. However, each survivor also has 3 what are called teachable perks. In the case of Fengmin, they are Technician, Lithe, and Alert. When you prestige a survivor, those perks become available to all other survivors. So, as you can see, if I go to another survivor, say Nia, then I will have access to Fengmin's perks, if I can find them here. Eat Lithe right here. This is important because your character will start with those teachable perks from level 1, and it's important to unlock a good, foundation of perks early on, so then you can play whichever survivors you want, and you'll have all of the good perks unlocked for them. So why do I think Fengmin is the best survivor that you should start with? Her 3 teachable perks are Alert. When the killer performs a break action, the killer is revealed to you for 5 seconds. You see their aura through walls, and you'll just basically get a radar as to where the killer is. Technician. The noises caused by repairs are reduced by 8 meters, which is nice, but the reason it's good for new players is because when you fail a skill check, which you will do, you probably have done, it does not do the big explosion and noise alert for the killer, which is very helpful. Once you get better at the game and you have some more experience and you find yourself not missing any skill checks, then feel free to take this perk off. But it's kind of like training wheels. It's good for newer players. And then Lithe, which is a great perk in general. When you vault a window or a pallet while sprinting, you gain a speed boost of 150%, or sorry, you run at 150% of your normal speed for 3 seconds. And then this makes you be exhausted for 40 seconds. If you don't know, there's a category of perks called exhaustion perks, which are generally the best perks in the game. Using any of these perks will make you exhausted, and you can't use any of those perks while exhausted. Lithe is not the strongest one, but it's very comfy, it's easy to use, because if you're vaulting a window while sprinting anyway, you're probably in a chase, so you're never going to waste it or use it improperly. So all three of these perks are pretty good on their own, except, I mean, for experienced players, Technician doesn't have a whole lot of use, but for newer players, it's really great. Alert is a good information perk, lets you know where the killer is, and Lithe is a great perk to help you in the chase. And that's why Feng is so good. All three perks are good on their own, but together they form a nice build. They cover all areas of the game. You've got information, you've got stealth, you've got chase, and then for your fourth perk slot, you can slap on honestly any number of common perks are really good here. Kindred is good to help you give your team more information. Kinship can let you stay alive longer on the hook. Inner Healing will be a great perk to heal yourself if you wanted to be able to do that. We'll Make It is a great healing perk, letting you heal people faster after you unhook them. And the point is that any of these combinations are a well-rounded build that is very friendly to newer players. Thus, Feng Min, in my opinion at least, is the best survivor for new players. She just eases that learning curve quite a bit. Now, the next option that I would like to talk about is Kate Denson. For one particular reason, which is Kate has this perk called Windows of Opportunity. This perk allows you to see the auras of all the pallets, windows, breakable walls within 32 meters of you at all times. This is a wonderful perk for learning maps, learning the various tiles that spawn around. It's especially helpful on like all the confusing indoor maps, like Larry's, that are just this narrow maze of twisting corridors. Can help you always find safety on those maps. Even a lot of more experienced players will run this perk for simply knowing where your teammates have dropped pallets, or which breakable walls are broken. Or again, on very confusing maps like Larry's, which even as somebody with like 1,000 hours in this game, I am not ashamed to admit, I still get lost on that map like all the time. It is very confusing. The last option I would like to recommend, if you don't want to purchase any of the DLCs, which is totally understandable, would be Meg Thomas. Meg's three perks are Sprint Burst, which is when you just start sprinting at any time, your first 3 seconds, you run much faster, 150% speed, which causes the exhaustion status effect that I talked about a minute ago for 40 seconds. Her second perk is Quick and Quiet, which makes it so when you fast vault either a window or jump into a locker, it makes no noise. And then her third perk, Adrenaline, is a bit weird. So it is an exhaustion perk, kind of. When the 5th generator is completed and the exit gates are powered, you instantly heal a health state and gain the Sprint Burst 150% speed for 5 seconds. It causes the exhaustion effect if you're not already exhausted, but the thing that makes this one kind of special is that if you are already exhausted, it works anyway. It ignores exhaustion. Now, Meg, for beginner players, honestly, I don't think is as good as Feng. Her perks are... Adrenaline is a bit weird. Sprint Burst as well. The big mistake a lot of people make is they just walk everywhere because they don't want to waste their Sprint Burst, which is a bad idea. Don't just slowly walk across the entire map because you're afraid to waste your Sprint Burst. It's one of the things that makes it actually incredibly strong, is that you can use it to traverse the map faster even if you're not being chased. But it does require a bit more experience to know when is good to to do that and when it's good to hold it. And finally, Quick and Quiet is just a kind of a quirky little stealth perk. It's pretty good, but nothing to really write home about. So her perks aren't as, I guess, noob-friendly, I would say, as Feng's are. But also, Meg has probably just the strongest set of teachable perks in the entire game of any survivor. Sprint Burst and Adrenaline are both serious contenders for the best perk in the game, and then Quick and Quiet is pretty good as well. So ideally, Feng or Kate, but if you don't want to spend a few bucks on the DLC, then Meg is also a great option. I would just like to briefly mention as well, Claudette. I have seen a lot of people recommend Claudette for new players, and my advice is absolutely not. For the sole reason that she has this perk, which is called Self-Care. This is why she's often recommended, and it's also why you shouldn't play her. This is a terrible, terrible perk that you should never use. I know it sounds good, and I know it feels kind of good, but you heal so slow with this perk, especially with how popular, like, healing slowdown builds are right now. If you have the Mangled effect, which is applied by killer perks and add-ons in various ways, with Self-Care, it takes over a minute to fully heal yourself. That's insane, and you should never do it. Just don't use this perk. Save yourself the trouble. Don't do it. Don't play Claudette. Well, you can play Claudette, but, like, don't use this perk. Her other perks, Botany Knowledge and Empathy, are actually pretty good, but do not fall for this trap, Self-Care. Don't do it. Finally, I would just like to mention a couple other survivors who have good perks that I think you should work towards fairly early on. Maybe if you start with Feng, then go for one of these survivors second. First would be Zarena, whose perks are Red Herring, Off the Record, and For the People. Now, the reason I recommend to go for her early is because of her second perk, Off the Record. This perk makes it so that when you are unhooked, you get the hit immunity that you normally get for 10 seconds, you get it for 80 seconds instead, as long as the exit gates haven't been powered yet. This is a really good, like, self-preservation perk. It lasts forever, so even if the killer, if they try to wait out the normal unhook endurance, or if they just kind of stumble across you even a minute later, this perk will still be active. It's very good. Red Herring, it's a bit of a meme perk. I love it, but in an ironic way. It's not very good. It just makes it so that when you go into a locker, the last generator you were working on makes the explosion noise and notifies the killer. It's just kind of funny. And then For the People is a very strong perk as well. It lets you instantly heal other survivors at the cost of injuring yourself. It's a very good perk, but it is a perk that I would say requires a fair amount of knowledge about the state of the game and when it's good to use it, right? Dwight Fairfield, on top of being the most stylish man in Dead by Daylight, has perks that revolve very much around teamwork. Bond lets you see the auras of any of your allies when they're within 36 meters of you. Leader gives other survivors a boost to speed of doing basically everything except repairing generators. And Prove Thyself gives a speed boost too. And finally, the last survivor who I think is good to go for pretty early on is Bill. Left Behind is honestly a pretty generally useless perk. If you're the last survivor, you can see the aura of the hatch, which might sound good, but this perk is literally you just being like, well, I anticipate we're gonna lose this game, so I'm gonna bring this perk, which, I don't know, it's not my style. I'd rather just take a perk that's gonna help me win the game, rather than help me lose less, but whatever. Borrowed Time is a perk that was one of the best perks in the game for about 5-6 years. It did pretty recently get, like, reworked, so it's completely different. I think it's still pretty good though. When you unhook a survivor, they keep the endurance and the speed boost for an extra 10 seconds. The speed boost is just nice. It lets the unhooked survivor get a ton of distance after they get unhooked. And the extra endurance can really throw off a lot of killers. If they're trying to tunnel somebody, then they'll just like try to wait out exactly as long as the base like unhooks endurance is. So if you have borrowed time, then they'll hit and they'll still have endurance anyway, which can throw people off and buy you a ton of time. It's very good. And the biggest reason is unbreakable. It increases your recovery speed when you're on the ground, and it lets you pick yourself up once per game. It's just a very strong perk. If a killer ever slugs you, they're gonna regret it. And even the increased recovery speed can really mess with some killers if they're going for a slug heavy playstyle. It's really good. And finally, the last characters I would like to talk about are the Resident Evil characters, because I know there's a lot of people who are just big fans of Resident Evil. They just want to play one of these characters, especially with the RE4 make that just came out, which, fair enough. And out of all 4 of them, I would say the best one is Rebecca. Ada and Jill both have some okay perks that can be pretty good or good in specific build. Leon's perks they're really fun and memey, but they're not exactly what I'd call optimal. But Rebecca has Better Than New, which makes it so that when you heal another survivor, they get a speed boost to doing, again, basically everything except generators until they get hit. Pretty good, but nothing really to write home about. But she also gets 2 other perks, which are kind of insane. Reassurance is an amazing perk. It makes it so that if you are near a hooked survivor, you get a little button prompt on your screen, and if you press it, it pauses the hooked survivor's like struggle timer for 30 seconds. This is so good if killers are camping. It just buys you so much time to do generators. Even there are times when you won't make it to somebody on time, but you can trigger reassurance like through walls or through ceilings to buy yourself more time to get the unhook, which is pretty nice as well. But mostly it's for the anti-camping, that's very good. And then she also has hyper focus, which is a very good perk. But it is a very difficult perk to use well. It increases the bonus you get for great skill checks, but it also makes your skill checks progressively more difficult. It's so difficult, even like really good players often won't get a lot of value out of this perk on their own because it's just hard to hit that many great skill checks. So yeah, if you want a Resident Evil character, then I would recommend Rebecca. Greetings, hello, you've made it to the end of the video, wonderful. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed or learned anything, please gently caress the subscribe button. That would be much appreciated. I have a couple of quick announcements. First of all, you may have noticed that the Genshin videos are gone. They've disappeared. I have decided that, I guess for YouTube purposes, Genshin and Dead by Daylight are they're very different games, and I don't know how big the overlap there is. So I am going to make a second channel where I will put Genshin, potentially Honkai weeb stuff, and then this channel will be for DBD. I might make some Counter-Strike videos when CS2 comes out. More mainstream stuff. And then secondly, I would like to announce the start of a new series on this channel that I am very excited about, which I have decided to call the Super Adept series. This is a series where I will have to go through each character in Dead by Daylight and beat them 1 perk at a time. I will have to play 4 games, I'll have to win 4 games with each killer and survivor, starting with 0 perks, and then win 1 game with each of their 3 teachable perks. So for example, if I pull, say, Dwight, then I'll have to win a game as Dwight with no perks, and then 1 with Leader, 1 with Bond, and 1 with Prove Thyself. I have here the names of every single character in Dead by Daylight written out on stock cards. I am going to put all of the names in this bag right here that I have, and draw one. Oh, comma, you stole that idea from Eternal Mortal. Shut up. So, the first character... Technical pause, hold up. Aha! And the first character will be... Lori. That's a little bit concerning, I'll be honest. Some of her perks are less than ideal. But, okay. It's fine. I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping I would pull a Survivor first. Because, I don't know, I just find it easier to make videos for them. And I want to kind of get a handle on the style I'm going to go with. But, so yep, Lori. Oh boy. Alright, well, I gotta play and edit some Dead by Daylight. So I'll catch you later, gamers.